You want a job? How about a skilled volunteer, rather interesting title, at the Obama monstrosity? What a nightmare. Vegas sheriff is saying no to a liberal judge. We need a lot more of these. Great story coming up. And the real St. Patrick. Indeed, today is St. Patty's Day. Gosh and begorra, it is St. Patty's Day, and that's about the best Irish accent I can do. I don't do many, but that's one that I think I can kind of muster up a bit of my Irish roots. I do have some Irish roots, actually. They are mixed in there somewhere. I've never done one of those DNA things because at the conversion rate of USD to ringgit, it's like $1 billion. It's incredibly overpriced. So anyway, one of these days I'll have that done, and we'll see. Hello, welcome to the Jay Sheldon Show. We're live on Rumble, and we are live on YouTube. Both places you can check out our show. We hope to have your subscription or your follow, whatever it might be, in whatever platform you're watching us. Thank you for that. We really do appreciate that. It doesn't cost you anything, but it goes a long way to telling the algorithm to shoot it out there and let other people know about what we're doing here. We appreciate that. All right. A very unusual story, and the reasons behind it are horrifying. The Iranian women's soccer team, their members are shunning asylum. They're giving up asylum and returning home to this insanely repressive regime. Complete act of defiance heard around the world. The Iranian women's soccer team stood silent during the opening match of the Women's Asian Cup in Australia in early March. Operation Epic Fury was unfolding. The Iranian regime immediately dubbed them traitors. Let it be known they would be facing very unpleasant consequences when they returned home to their country. And you can imagine from the Iranian regime what unpleasant consequences would be. A lot of the players, several of them very quickly applied for and received sanctuary in Australia. But then more and more began changing their minds, decided to return home to face certainly brutal consequences. Why would you do that? Well, sadly, the answer is just more of a black mark on this entire Iranian regime. Their families were being threatened back home in Iran. They figured they would rather face possible execution than sit safely down under and read news stories about their relatives being slaughtered by the psychotic remaining leaders of the Islamic Republic. Imagine faced with that choice. After the defecting players caused an international uproar over their situation, Trump even got involved. Have the U.S. take in the women if Australia didn't grant them asylum. 5 of the 7 women now have opted to return home to the Islamic Republic. The players were given repeated chances to talk about their opinions, or options rather, ultimately faced incredibly difficult questions, obviously. Australia Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke said, Tina Kordostami, councillor for the Australian city of Ryde, claimed the players were being heavily intimidated by Tehran, suggesting their families were being used as leverage to get them back home. Fox Report with John Scott, Kordostani said, I know families have been detained, and I know some of their family members are missing. So they are making the choice, an unbelievable choice, to return home, to face very uncertain fates. The Australian government has tried to help in any way they can, but the reality is they cannot protect these families from this backlash back in Iran. Tim Burke, the Minister for Home Affairs in Aussie, said the government there have done everything we could to give the women a chance for a safe future in Australia. He said that after the women communicated their decision to return, Australian government gave them opportunities to discuss their options. We cannot remove the context in which the players are making these incredibly difficult decisions, Burke said. Now, some people may question these women's decisions, but you've got to understand the reality, the unbelievable reality of these decisions they're facing. It is absolute life and death, and that's not an exaggeration. This is the kind of decisions that very few of us ever have to imagine, let alone make. This dire situation proves again exactly how barbaric these mullahs are, still are. Highly diminished because of the actions going on right now there, but it hasn't gone away. Reason number 502,918 why the world would be a better place if these animals were permanently removed from the face of the earth. Manischewitz. Can you imagine having to sit there and face that kind of decision? I cannot. Couldn't possibly imagine that. Absolutely insane. Danny, top of the morning to you. I'm a couple minutes late getting ready to start our corned beef, cabbage, carrots, and potatoes. All right. Enjoy your St. Patty's Day and a huge happy birthday to the little leprechaun. 2 years ago, had Danny embracing her Irish mouth as he came into the world at 11:29 a.m. Really? That's kind of late in the morning for a birth. Usually comes earlier, like I was born at 5:23 a.m. on the 15th of January? Yeah. Wow. Unbelievable. A very big happy birthday to you, little leprechaun. And here's to many, 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 many more. You got a heck of a mom there. I hope you love her dearly. I'm sure that you do. All right. If you're looking for a job, you might not want to consider the Obama Library. I mean, first of all, who would want to work in a monstrosity building like that? It's an absolute nightmare. But now get this. Only skilled workers are requested to work at the Obama Library, while insiders there are raking in like six figures. 100 over 1,000, probably 3 times that. Obama Presidential Center getting geared up for their grand opening in June, which is going to be a nightmare. Be nice to see him arrested and in handcuffs in prison before then. Anyway, there's a lot to do before the doors open. One of those things is getting people in who will staff the facility. But if you thought that working in Chicago's newest unique building might land you a decent salary, well, think again. Your salary will come in the form of getting to be part of the experience. Yeah, like zero. Oh, it's for the experience. That's very valuable. They, these asses are looking for unpaid volunteers to make up their workforce. Volunteering for something you believe in, noble cause to be sure. It's just that volunteering does not put food on the table. One person who doesn't have to worry about putting food on the table is the chief executive of the Obama Center, longtime advisor to Obama and CEO of the Obama Foundation, Valerie Jarrett. You know what her salary is going to be while they're asking you to work for free? For the experience? She'll be making $740,000. Yeah. $740,000. The center is looking to hire 75 to 100 volunteers who'll be known as ambassadors, serving as greeters and guides for the guests around the center, in addition to several other duties. $700 and something thousand Jarrett herself was talking up the volunteer workforce. She said the Obama Presidential Center is a place where the world meets the best of the city of Chicago, and our volunteers will help bring that vision to every day. She added the volunteers will create a welcoming and inclusive experience for visitors while representing the strength, resilience, and leadership in this country. Together, we're building something that inspires service, connection, and action far beyond our walls. But you don't want to pay anything for it? The hell? Please put this man in prison. Apparently, working for the Obama Foundation is a premium gig. In addition to Jarrett, several other former Obama White House officials also been brought in. Six-figure salaries. Yep. 2018 total salaries and benefits paid out by the foundation, $18.5 million. 2024, that increased. Yep, not a little bit. It went up to $43.7 million with 337 employees. The Obama Center frames its call for volunteers on the former president's days as a community organizer. Nobody's buying that crap. Program reflects President Obama's long-standing conviction the strength of American democracy is rooted in the willingness of its people to serve, help, and work together. Volunteerism has been central to Obama's vision of civic life since his early days as a community organizer on Chicago's South Side. Local businesses near the Obama Center, hoping for a little extra income, a little economic impact from tourists who may be coming to visit. If that happens, then good on the Obamas for helping the South Side economy. But calling for unpaid volunteers just sounds like another Democrat grab for cheap, or in this case, free labor. Note to the Obamas, America is still dealing with the last time Democrats wanted cheap and free labor. You remember that? Yeah, I do. Please put this man in prison. Could we do that, huh? Could we do that, please? Yes. Are you getting sick or have you been sick? I hear it in your voice. I have this runny nose and this congestion in my chest, and it won't go away. I've been doing expectorants and all kinds of crap. It doesn't really help. I managed to get 45, 50 minutes a day out in putting this program on. But yeah, you can hear it in my voice. I know that. Danny got to head out. Kids have an e-learning because of the cold. 78 to cancel due to cold. Oh my God. I'll watch later. Gotta tell you, we got the blackout tea. Definitely a must have. Cool beans. Nice. Hoping Rutgers better and off the meds. All right. Marilyn, Danny, thank you very much. What else is going on? Oh, the bane of my existence. One of them. I got a lot of them. Self-checkout. I don't work for you, grocery store. I buy stuff at your store in which you make profit from me. And I don't work for you. So I am not checking out my items, bagging my items, if you can even get a bag these days, paying, and then being inspected by some flunky security guard making $3 an hour. New York City's, oh yeah, oh, they got a plan. Gonna tackle self-checkout retail theft by punishing the business owners? What? As we predicted, New York City Mayor Mamdani, the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to unbelievably ridiculous policies. But the Democrat majority New York City Council, honestly, they ain't much better. Latest push is to address shoplifting in New York City. Most New Yorkers likely on board with the idea of cutting down on the shoplifting that goes on, but the solution they've come up with is much more typical Democrat failure than success. The focus is on self-checkout lanes, designed for convenience of law-abiding citizens, keyword, but apparently a dream come true for shoplifters in the Big Apple. Tuesday, Councilwoman Amanda Farias introduced a bill that would limit self-checkout items to 15 and require grocery stores and pharmacies to staff at least one employee for every 3 self-checkout lanes. Okay, fair enough. Staffing permitted. However, businesses that don't comply, you could be faced with a fine of up to $100 a day. Farias is a Bronx Democrat. Look, I'm wearing her shirt. She said this about the bill. We've seen the consequences of removing workers from these spaces: increased retail theft, less oversight, fewer protections for both workers and customers, and generally decreased safety. The bill's about producing good jobs, supporting workers on the front lines, and creating a more secure shopping environment for New Yorkers. In typical Democrat fashion, her and her fellow leftist travelers once again cannot refuse to see the irony in their absurdity. In addition to the punishment in the form of fines for the store owners, a bill also was introduced that would raise New York's minimum wage from $17 an hour to $30 an hour by 2030. This campaign promise came from, of course, Mamdani. Has it occurred to all these economic experts, the city council, that the reason there aren't enough employees to be supervising self-checkout lanes is that businesses, especially small businesses, can't afford a $30 an hour minimum wage? Are you Have you lost your mind? Retail theft in New York City was up 68% above pre-pandemic levels in 2022. There's been a 7% decline since 23 and 25, but it is still enormously high. Typical backwards leftist logic, including actually trying to punish criminals. Oh no, we can't do that. Board member Jason Ferraria, National Supermarket Association, owns 3 grocery stores in Queens. He said the bill is misguided. You think? He added, I think this is a horrible idea. You don't prevent shoplifting by making me have a certain ratio of employees. People shoplift in a lot of different ways. Once again, Democrats decided to punish you and me, the law-abiding citizens, in this case, business owners, instead of the criminals they're obsessed with coddling. Unfortunately, New Yorkers did not vote for these people, and now you got to live with your consequences. If you didn't vote for this crap, sorry, they're in charge now. You got to live with it. Unbelievable. Out freaking outrageous. I got some good news, but first I got to do something very quickly. Hold on. Don't go away. I got to turn the fan on in here. It's crazy hot. Okay. Good news coming up. However, before we get to that, more good news. Happy St. Patrick's Day. It's your lucky day. Our great partner, Blackout Coffee. Look at this deal, folks. Look at this. Buy 1, 7% off. Buy 2, 14% off. Buy 3, 17% off. That is fantastic. And that discount is added in automatically right at checkout. Unbelievable coffee. It is roasted only after you place your order. If you don't have the ability to grind beans, no problem. Most of their most popular roasts come in ground versions, so they will grind them for you. They've got coffee pods. They've got flavored coffees, which every one of them is absolutely incredible. Blueberry crumble, salted caramel, chocolate cherry. They are incredible. There's mine, pitch black espresso, always full flavored, never bitter. It's just the best coffee on the planet, folks. All I can do is to ask you to go over there. The link is in our show notes, right towards the top, and try a bag. Just try 1 bag of Blackout coffee. I promise you'll be back for more because it's just that good. And check that out. You can build up a coffee subscription. Save up to 20%. You get free shipping. You can swap your flavors anytime. You can skip or cancel whenever you want. That is a hell of a deal, and you never have to think, oh no, I'm running out of coffee, because it'll be right there at your doorstep when you need it. Blackout Coffee. And as Danny said, among the many different things that they do there are also teas. And she has said she tried the teas. They're fantastic. The Blackout tea, definitely a must-have. So when you're here at the site, be sure you check out here on the top, Cocoa and Teas. Check them out. Sweet hot cocoa, chocolate cherry dump cake. Oh, man. Wow. Incredible. Thank you, Blackout Coffee, for helping to sponsor the show and being a partner with us here. We appreciate your you being with us. John Santos and the gang over there at Blackout Coffee, they do a fantastic job. And it's an American company, work with American farmers, local co-ops, all to bring you the best coffee on the planet. A Vegas sheriff is defying a judge in the best way possible. He is keeping a 35-year arrest thug locked up. Recent months, even recent years, so many times we see these one-man crime waves, and this one guy gets released back out on the street by squishy, crooked, crook-friendly judges. Happens all the time. How many stories like that have I done? And they just go on to do worse and worse crimes. These goblins, sometimes only back on the street for hours, and they're right back into it committing crimes. Well, in Las Vegas, one top cop has decided enough is enough. Confronted with a release order from LA Justice Court Judge Eric Goodman to release Joshua Sanchez Lopez, a crook with 35 arrests to his name. That's a long rap sheet. Clark County Sheriff Kevin McMahill took a simple but very powerful step. He said, not going to comply. Citing the public safety, he refuses to comply with this release order. Dispute began after LA Justice Court Judge Eric Goodman ordered Sanchez Lopez released on an electronic monitoring program that allows defendants to leave jail wearing a GPS ankle bracelet. But law enforcement officials said, nope, we're not doing it. We're not releasing him, arguing his criminal history makes him far too dangerous to be free in the community. 36 years old, a felon, 35 arrests, prior prison time for drug involuntary manslaughter charges. This does not exactly seem like the kind of scumball goblin you should be running around the streets with, ankle monitor or not. Why is it the cops can see this, but the judge can't? When the police declined to release him, Goodman ordered the department to comply and warned officials they could face contempt sanctions if they did not. Someone has dozens of prior arrests and a history of violations. That raises serious concerns about whether they can safely be released into the community. Duh. That's David Moody, a retired Las Vegas Metro Police Department detective, state president of the Fraternal Order of Police in Nevada. From a law enforcement perspective, public safety has to come first. Bingo. Good to see someone in this matter actually doing their job. That would not be Judge Goodman, by the way, in case you're wondering. Now, there is an argument to be made for the old 3 strikes laws, 3 violent felonies, and you go away for life, no parole. I love that. You might make the argument for extending that to non-violent felonies, maybe raising the number to 5 or something. Majority of crimes of violence, folks, are committed by a minority of criminals. You have to understand that. Sure, it would seem like Sanchez Lopez is one of those repeat minority offenders who just keep, have no regard for the law at all. They just do what they want. They don't care. He is entitled to his day in court, of course. Be perfectly legal and prudent to keep him locked up until that day arrives. This is the difference between law enforcement and the judicial apparatus in one location, Clark County, Nevada, that is doubtlessly repeated all over the nation, time and time again. How many stories have we told you about? A lot of cities, by the way, are losing their police officers exactly because of this. Squishy judges. Imagine what a street officer has to think when he busts a felon and then watches as that same felon the next day is walking down the street. Well, Clark County Sheriff Kevin McMahill, take a bow. Congratulations for your conviction and your guts to be able to stand up finally and say, no, it ain't happening. We love this. We absolutely love it. All right. Virginia officials. This is a weird one. Virginia officials are defending an illegal alien who has been accused of groping high school girls. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Fairfax County, Virginia, here we go. Lost the plot. Just a couple of weeks ago, the soft-on-crime policies of Attorney Steve Descano and his office led sadly to the death of Stephanie Minter at the hands of Abdul Jalal, an illegal immigrant, violent career criminal. Fairfax police warned Descano's office multiple times that Jalal was dangerous, and it was just a matter of time before he killed someone. And they completely ignored those warnings. Now we're back in Fairfax County, where officials are not only allowing a 19-year-old illegal immigrant to attend high school as a junior, but they're defending the man who has groped several teenagers. This is insane. Descano's prosecutor, Jenna Sands, wanted to release the illegal from jail. Thankfully, judge said no. Fairfax County Sheriff Stacy Kincaid refused to honor the ICE detainer that would get his sexual abuser out of the country. He says, I'm learning Fairfax County high student is charged with 9 counts of assault and battery, and the student happens to be in this country illegally. ICE told me that he entered the country in 2024, released under the Biden administration. No surprise there. Now he's charged with sexual assault and battery. ICE told me they lodged a detainer against the guy who's in jail. Sheriff Stacy Kincaid will not honor the ICE detainer. Unbelievable. This man, who is 18 years old, very soon will be 19, junior at Fairfax County High School, went behind their girls in the hallways at school, put his hands between their legs, and moved it from front to back with his hands. It happened at least a dozen times. Several victims have come forward. Parents are livid at Fairfax County Public Schools. Been sweeping this under the rug, and this alleged behavior has been going on all school year. Nobody has done anything about it until now. Court hearing today, public defender for the student was trying to release him, asking for bail. He's an illegal alien, you morons. Judge said no, the bail did not adequately address the public safety. You want to see this knucklehead? I don't want to give him a whole lot of screen time, but there he is. What an absolute illegal immigrant scum of the earth. If you're not going to put him in jail, then you better put him on a plane and deport his ass out of this country. Dozen girls over have come forward to report that this idiot put his hands in between their legs, grabbed their private parts in the front, and moved his hand to their butts while in the school hallways. And this is the guy they're protecting. Are you freaking kidding me? Unbelievable. You know, I did not cover the Oscars because the Oscars are an absolute waste of time and no one cares. But I did find this story over at the Daily Signal. And man, how refreshing is this? Jessie Buckley's Oscar speech celebrated motherhood, family, and her Irish roots. She said, I want to dedicate this to the beautiful chaos of a mother's heart. Her acceptance speech for Best Actress. In an era when a lot of award shows, speeches are just political bullshit, Buckley's remarks stood out for a different reason. The Irish actress used one of Hollywood's most visible platforms to celebrate something a lot less fashionable in the entertainment industry: motherhood, family, and the values that shaped her long before she gained any kind of fame. During her remarks, she spoke warmly about her husband, their young daughter, emphasized the excitement about becoming a mom. In a shout out to her husband, she said, "You, Fred, I love you, man. I love you. You're the most incredible dad. You've been my best friend, and I want to have 20,000 more babies with you. I do. I do." How refreshing is it? I mean, the rest of the night was just filled with the usual crap. But Jessie Buckley, huge salute to you. There she is with her Oscar. Wow. So there was one thing for probably 3 or 4 minutes that might have actually been worth watching at the Oscars. I promise you, though, the rest of it was absolute crap. All right, we're going to end just a little bit early, but before we go, I want to tell you about today and celebrating the real St. Patrick. Of course, it's St. Patrick's Day. Perhaps the best known among Catholic saints in America, anyway. Most people know his name, but they don't really know the details that made him a hero in the faith. Got nothing to do with a pint of Guinness, corned beef. The life of St. Patrick defined by perseverance and faith. He was originally born in Great Britain toward the end of the 4th century. Later held captive by pirates, taken to Ireland, where he was enslaved for over 6 years. Through his imprisonment, Patrick kept a diary that recounted the dramatic growth he experienced in his relationship with God. He remarked that what strengthened his faith was more than anything else simply speaking to God more often. Quote, "I prayed in the woods and on the mountain, even before dawn." No matter the time, the place, the circumstances, Patrick would use it as an opportunity to speak to God. He later escaped slavery, returned to his home country within a short time, went back to Ireland as a priest, determined to set people free from sin, help them experience the love of God. Tradition tells us he used an image of a shamrock to portray the utter simplicity and grandeur of our God, being a communion of 3 persons. God is relationship, and to be in union with God is the fulfillment of the human heart, he taught. Well, now more than ever, certainly, we need to be reminded of the glue that binds this world together. the church, God, whether that arises on the global stage of war or in the more personal confines of each one of our homes, we can all benefit from the reminder that God is a relationship and that we are crafted for participation in that relationship. We're designed to take part in it. And the more we live connected to God, the more fulfilled we become. These were the teachings of St. Patrick. Patrick wrote that God was present to him even when he wasn't appreciating his faith. The language of love and faith, most critical thing to remember when you're celebrating St. Patrick. Yes, the Guinness will certainly flow, green beer, parade's going to be joyous. The man who spoke about God's love and conversion that we should remember the most on March 17th, if we're focused on faith and fact, that we are being called to be greater than we currently are, we will be renewed, like Patrick was. And then we will become beacons of hope, just like St. Patrick was in Ireland. How about that? That's the real St. Patrick. All righty, friends, we're going to end it out a little early. My chest and lungs are giving out slowly but surely. We'll be back again tomorrow for the Wednesday edition, of the Jay Sheldon Show. Please check out our sponsors. You want to donate to the show just to help us support what we do here. The PayPal link is also in there in our show notes. It's all right down there below. Just expand it out, and you'll see all that. And I will see you again tomorrow. Happy birthday, AJ.